everyone! Ready for Wiggy Jazi is here, and that can only mean one thing. Today we are doing a cosplay makeup guide video. So this is the type of video where I show you how I do my makeup for a certain character and offer tips where applicable. So today we are doing Jester from Critical Role, which is a lot because she's blue. So let's just get right into it. So I think body paint is one of those things that's really intimidating to a lot of cosplayers, so they're afraid to dive into it. But it doesn't really have to be because it's really not as hard as you might think it is. It just takes a little bit of practice and knowing what works for your skin. So one tip that I do have is that you're going to want to do your skincare before, obviously. Skincare is really important for any makeup, and you're just going to want to do your moisturizer, do your sunscreen, but you're going to want to let that sit for a little bit. Mine's been sitting probably about 20 minutes. I would recommend waiting at least 10 minutes, because I'm obviously kind of glowing right now, I can see it in the screen. I'm looking a little shiny, so my skin has not absorbed all the product yet, but it's you don't want to put the makeup right over a fresh layer of moisturizer, and you also don't want to put it on wet skin because it is water activated, so you're going to want to make sure your sponge is damp, not your skin. So to start out, I am going to be covering up some of the spots on my face that have blemishes with a little bit of white foundation, just to really make sure that the skin looks smooth after I put on the water-based blue makeup. For me, I find that just a little bit of this can make a really big difference on areas of my face that are breaking out. So for me, because I'm so pale, the white just kind of absorbs and blends into my skin, so you can't see a big difference right now, I don't think. I'm just looking slightly more ghosty. But if you find that you have trouble putting on colorful face paint and stuff, definitely try using a white base because it might give you a lot better results. And that's another thing too, some people are oh well, I can't do body paint because I have a bunch of acne, and I'm depending on the color you're going for, it actually might conceal your acne better than normal foundations sometimes. For example, I know for me, the blue really cancels everything out on my breakouts. Because let's be honest, if you're wearing a mask all the time, we're all getting those breakouts. So I'm using what I think a lot of people use for Jester. It's the Mayron Paradise Makeup AQ in light blue. And this is just a water-based cake. So I just use a damp sponge with this, a different sponge than I use for the white. The white was my normal foundation sponge, and this is one that I keep for the blue. And there's a possibility you might need to dampen your sponge multiple times. Just kind of depends. So I'm just going to apply a layer of this all over. I only need to do my neck. Last time I did a casual Jester, I actually wore this this cami underneath the cardigan I was wearing, and the cardigan was a v-neck, so I had to paint all the way down to my chest. We're not doing that today. I'm wearing a high-necked sweater. Alright, so as you can see, the blue just like this looks a little bit flat, so we're definitely going to want to do some contour and highlighting here. And also there's some spots that look a little bit patchy, like the forehead and the neck even a little bit, but one that is going to be fixed a little bit in the contouring, and also you really don't need to worry about the forehead. I just do it because in case the bangs move, but Jester does have bangs, so you don't have to worry about the whole forehead usually. So for most of my contouring, I'm just going to be using the blues from this e.l.f. rainbow palette that I've had for several years and still holds up fine. So you definitely don't have to go expensive with what colors you're using for your face. So for me, the nose also always looks a little bit rough, so I definitely want to focus on that and the jawline and the cheeks for my contour. So I'm going to be using a slightly darker blue than the face paint. And I'm also mixing a couple shadows and stuff, just kind of getting the tone that looks right. And one thing you don't want to do is you don't want to rub really harshly to contour on this paint, because if you have drier skin, I tend to have pretty dry skin, even with the moisturizer I put on and everything, so it can flake off a lot. And if you have oily skin, it'll just slide off. So either way, you really don't want to rub too much. The irony is that it's so much easier to contour when I have face paint on than it is normally, because it's easier to match the color. I've actually decided that Jester is like my least favorite makeup to do on camera, but I'm gonna power through. I finished up the contouring off camera, and as you can see, I focused a lot of it on like the sides of my face. That's where you're gonna wanna focus. I put a little bit on the forehead too, even though, like I said before, the forehead really doesn't matter that much. And I also focused it on the sides of my nose, just to kind of give the natural shadow there. I'm not sure why on camera it looks like I have like a shadow across the bridge. This is really weird because I don't see it in the mirror at all. I think that's probably just a shadow from the light somewhere. So just pretend that's not there, I guess. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and do the brows while we're at this stage. So I should have done this before the paint, kind of comb them out. Because now there's paint stuck in them and they're a little bit harder to work with. But we're gonna make it work. Then I'm going to use an angled brush to dip into one of my many blues in that elf palette. And I'm going to pick one that's close to my wig, which is a very dark blue. I like to keep with my natural shape, personally, for most cosplays, unless a cosplay like specifically requires a different shape, because I feel like it just looks the best and it's easier to deal with, frankly. Alright, so as usual, when you're doing your brows with eyeshadow, I always recommend sealing with a little bit of brow gel. Alright, so before we dive into the eye look, I'm going to be doing the fun part now, which is the blush and the highlight. So I know this is like controversial. Some people don't like the use of pink blush for Jester because they're like, oh, it doesn't make sense because she's blue, but I don't care, and a lot of other cosplayers do not care. I see so many people use pink blush, but like, it's cute, you know? So I'm actually going to be using, from the Too Faced holiday collection from like, either last year or the year before, I don't exactly remember. I've not used this a lot because the shadows in it are not that good, but the blush is basically the only thing I use because it's surprisingly pigmented, and I do like the shade. The shade's called Pink Christmas. But yeah, I don't personally recommend this product because it's not really worth it. It was a gift. And now in another controversial move, I'm gonna put a little on the nose. Alright, so now I'm going to be doing the highlight and the freckles. I'm going to be using what I usually use for highlighter, which is the Revolution Makeup Strobe Lighting Palette. Oh, it's always so shiny. And I'm going to be using the color, the kind of like chrome, whitish color. It's the color I usually use for like everything, but I just feel like it also like suits the blue color because it's more cool toned than the others. Alright, so now we're looking extra glowy and it's time for the freckles. Now I kind of stole this tip from other people online. I'm going to be using the bobby pin method, where you kind of just get the bobby pin wet and then make your freckles. I don't remember exactly like who I first saw this from because I've seen a couple people do it, but like I'm just saying I'm not taking credit for this technique. And this is one part of the process that I feel like can take a while, just to get them all on there and not smudge them too much or anything. You know, take your time. That's one thing about Jester makeup. You really want to take your time. Like, don't rush, you know? Alright, so now that the freckles are done, it's time to move on to the eyes. So since I didn't put on primer before the overall face paint layer because I didn't want it to just end up sliding off, because I don't know, I just have the worst luck with primers in this paint. So I'm going to be taking a small amount of my Urban Decay primer potion and applying that on my eye with a brush, well, like only on the lid where like there's going to be a big potential for creasing, because I find that this probably is because my skin is pretty dry, but I find that the water-based paint does like grab it basically everywhere else, but on the lid I need a little bit something extra. Alright, now I'm going to be pulling out some more shimmery type shades. I'm going to be using my little blue donut palette. This is I Heart Revolution Blueberry Crush. And as you can see, there's like these nice like teals and like a nice dark blue in there and that shimmery kind of silvery color. So I'm going to actually be starting with the shimmery silver since we're kind of going for more of like a little fun winter look, rather than like normal like adventuring type, though this could honestly work for like anything. There's no rules of what your makeup has to look like. I mean, it's cosplay, so looking cute is most important. You ever just like do something with makeup and then you realize it goes like even better than expected? Like, this is a look! It's so cute! Alright, I'm now going to be using the darker blue shade in the crease to deepen this look. Alright, now to add a little bit more variety to the look, I'm going to be using one of the teal shades. The shades in this donut palette are actually pretty sheer, so I find that that's like fine for this. Not really good for like an everyday thing, but I did buy this palette specifically because it made me think of Jester and I wanted to use the shadows. So for this purpose, I would say that it works really well, but that is just like a disclaimer that for an everyday look, especially the shimmer shades, are probably not going to be like your best bet if you want a really bold blue eye. But if you're already painting yourself blue, it really like lets the blue color shine through, and I think it makes everything match a lot better because you don't have to worry about your shadow being the exact shade. It's like I have the rainbow palette for that. For the last step, I'm going to be doing a little bit of an inner corner highlight. I'm also going to be putting some of the dark blue on my lower lash line because I kind of want to darken up this overall look a little bit before I put on my eyeliner. Now it is time to add some eyeliner. I am going to be using my favorite, which is the Heroine Make Liquid Smooth Liquid Eyeliner. I guess that's the full name. Alright, now it is lash time. I'm just using some Ardell lashes. These are the faux mink type, and they're very, very fluffy. I'm just like, well, yeah, let's just pull out the big ones today, because why not? Alright, so now that I finished fixing those up off camera, it's time for one of our last steps. So this is the Sugar Pill Little Twin Stars Kiki Liquid Lip Color. I'm gonna have to get definitely a new blue lipstick soon. This one's not quite the right shade, but it definitely works and it goes with the look. Alright, so now to set this, I'm going to be using both the NYX Matte Finish and Ben Nye Final Seal. The Final Seal will kind of like really set it, get it on there. I'm going to be using the NYX one first, just to really get that nice skin finish. Alright, so of course I have the wig and the ears and everything, but I'm going to be putting those on off camera really quick. As you can notice, I did put some of the blue paint onto my ears because my ears like kind of just sit behind my actual ears. They don't like completely cover it, so you want to remember to do that if you're using ears that are similar to mine. I think I'm gonna have to touch up the makeup on these just a little bit because like it peeled off a little bit at the very top point here. But yeah, they're just like this, and so they just kind of just wrong side. Kind of just sit behind like that. But yeah, I really like this style because they're really comfortable, and I find that most of the time I don't even have to glue them on because they kind of stick on my ears, especially with the wig there. They kind of just like, everything just kind of holds itself in place, I guess. But you can use spirit gum to attach them if you need to on your own ears. So this is my finished look. It's just a kind of casual thing. I'm wearing a nice little wintry sweater. But yeah, I also haven't decided if I'm going to put my fangs in or not. But anyway, I hope you enjoyed seeing my process, and hopefully maybe a few of my tips were helpful if you are a Jester cosplayer that is just starting out, or if you're new to doing any sort of body paint thing, I'm actually like pretty pleased with the way my body paint usually comes out, because I was really afraid of it for a while, but now I'm no longer. I just don't do it very often because it's obviously very time consuming. It took me like 2.5 hours to film this, or maybe a little bit more. Part of that was because I was doing it on camera, but the other part was because that's literally just how long it takes. I usually set out like a block of, not on camera, I set out a block of about 2 hours to do my Jester makeup, which is way longer than any of my other makeup, believe me. But I just thought it would be fun to do this because I have not done Jester in a long time, because I usually like want to save this look for cons, but there are no cons right now, obviously. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed this. Be sure to leave a like if you did, and if you want, you can comment down below if you have any questions. But I really want you going out of this to understand that you don't always need like the top-notch products that people are using to do cosplay. You can really make a lot of things work. Like, that's how I did a lot of this. I think the only thing that I would say don't skip on is definitely get a really solid face paint. Don't use like the Walmart Halloween creams. Those just aren't going to come out as well as the Mayron like cake makeup that's water activated. I find that that's really easy to use and it dries down really nice and it doesn't rub off on a lot of things, so that's really nice. But I'm sure there are also others out there. I know some people do like to still use the Ben Nye creams. You just have to really make sure to seal those. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed seeing me paint myself blue, and I hope to see you next time. Bye!